All right, peace. Welcome back. Secret House Against the World. Secret House Against album reviews, Tokyo-based hip-hop art and culture. Thank you guys for tuning in. If this is your first time with us, you recognize me and Jet. Shout out to DJ L Spade. Be back soon. Please consider hitting the like and subscribe button and leaving a comment if this conversation about the Atmosphere album does anything for you. Please go check out some other content if you would like to do so. Today, me and Jet are discussing the new Atmosphere album. So many other realities exist simultaneously. A whole mouthful of a title. And they say it on the album, too. It's like one of those moments where they say the movie title.
He said the thing.
He said it. We did it. But yeah, this is a long one. This is, well, not necessarily long
About
because...
an hour, right?
I feel like it's long now, but 20 years ago, like a 60-minute album was short. But yeah, 20 songs, an hour and 4 minutes long. Slug and Ant are Atmosphere. They must have been together for almost 30 years. I think they got 13, 14, 15 full-length projects. Slug has a variety of different collaborative projects that he's been putting out over the long and storied career. He's got the Felt series with Merce of the Living Legend. Shout out. Together with Musab and Sadiq, they own Rocksteady Entertainment. Rhymesayer Entertainment. Rhymesayer Entertainment has been a cultural epicenter, just putting out so many tremendous, incredible underground artists, and it has persevered through the changes in the music industry, and I think that's a true testament to the passion that they have for the art form. I don't ever recall hearing any scandals or any bullshit like that, or a wrong side of a business deal from those guys. And I've also seen them step up when some of the artists they have under their label do some kind of nefarious shit. They step up and they take accountability. They push it out. They do whatever. Rhymesayer has also put out some of the great artists, 21st century, man. Rest in peace to Idea forever. But yeah, what we like to do on our show, especially when we have an artist that we haven't discussed before in detail, we like to talk about how we know these fools. That's a West Coast fool, not like a fool like you're ignorant, but also could be that too. But yeah, we like to talk about how we know these cats. How do you know Atmosphere?
Well, once again, I was probably like 3 when the first Atmosphere album came out. I would have literally been like a baby. And I want to say, ironically, based on the conversation we just had
Off camera,
and also mentioned in the bus driver review, I think it might have been a Tony Hawk game. Trying to Find a Balance was on one of those, along with like Low Class Conspiracy by Quasimoto.
You know, Tony Hawk and fucking Guitar Hero introduced an entire generation to a lot of music that they may have not otherwise heard, thanks to, you know, the radio being less important. But yeah, word. And it's so weird for me when you say like I was a child when this dropped, because I was already like, I'm only 10 years older than you, right? So shout out to us.
Well, nine, because you just turned 40, I just turned 31.
Okay, yeah. So I'm only 9 years older than, but I was, you know, at the time, it must have been, I want to say it must have been like 98. At this point, I'm already
16, 17.
Yeah, I've been breaking for a few years, writing graffiti, trying to rap and be an underground hip hop human being. And I was really into underground hip hop. So I want to say the first time I heard Overcast was through like a homie's mixtape or something, along with like the Dino Spectrum stuff. And I was also, you know, there was a lot of different scenes emerging. The Anticon Cats had put out Deep Puddle Dynamics, and that is kind of where I was like, oh man, Slug's kind of interesting. Like I really like the Deep Puddle Dynamics album when it came out for a variety of historical material reasons. And I was rocking with those Anticon guys for a long time. Slug's God's Bathroom Floor is probably on my top 20, top 50 songs ever. I was a big fan at a certain point, and somewhere along the line, like I kind of clocked out of their music a little bit. I want to say after Seven's Travels or God Loves Ugly, I kind of just wasn't really following their careers. Not anything necessarily to do with the quality of the music changing. It's just kind of my attention moved elsewhere. I've heard a few projects over the last few years or whatever. Southsiders, which came out in 2014, which is almost 10 fucking years ago. Now, is probably the last full-length album I listened to. So I am tremendously appreciative of their artwork and who they are and their positions within hip-hop history and culture and you know, all the great things they've done, but I just haven't listened to them too much recently. So
Sure.
this is kind of my first jump back into the type of music that they're making. I do think I've heard a few. They had a feature with Doom that came out right after he passed away.
Yep.
I did hear that, but yeah, this is kind of this is me coming back into the atmosphere. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm kind of the same, but I think maybe I was more actively pushed away from this type of music, like the rhyme sayers and Anticon stuff. I was very much pushed away being like in my teens and first kind of looking at like online music communities, whether that's like the Reddit hip hop head sub or whatever. And just like the way that people would talk about Slug, or the way that people would talk about, I don't know, People Under the Stairs, or Deep Puddle Dynamics, or Idea, who was, I assume, had probably just passed away at the time. Maybe I can't remember what year he passed, but and there was this kind of reverence for this kind of music where I was kind of like, no, this is great, but like, I don't know if it was like a racial undertone where it was kind of like, oh, these Redditors like this because it's intellectual and it's white guys, or if it was just like, there was something about the
These
tone
are the white rappers who aren't trying to be black. Like,
right.
Check out Sage Francis.
No booty shaking in this. No,
it's more intellectual. It's smarter. It
Right.
makes me smarter for listening to it.
And- And that's really not like that's barely relevant to the music at all. It's not a critique of the music.
There was,
but I kind of
there was an error.
lost sight of that somewhere in the process.
That didn't affect me as profoundly because I had already grown up. Like, first off, Slug
I was
is
14.
Yeah, Slug. But that's been a conversation in that's been a conversation in hip hop music when it comes to white rappers for a long time.
For sure.
I personally, growing up and seeing these white rappers, if they were part of the community, they were part of the community. And I've always enjoyed a white rapper. And I should say, Slug is not white. Like, he appears white, but I think his dad is black and Native American.
Okay, what?
He's you know what I mean? But there was a thing at the time where a lot of the white rappers were actively trying not to pursue going towards blackness, but still adhering to hip hop culture. And that has, just like anything, has its pros and cons, contradictions. But I've always appreciated the non-black artists trying not to make black music. Slug, even Dose One and Soul and these cats, they never put on a do-rag. No. But there was also kind of I remember even Tumex was mad at the Pedestrian for putting out an album called Un-Indian Songs. It's like, well, he's like, everything is Indian, everything's Native American. And it's just like, bro, he's saying that he's hella white. You know what I mean? Like, he's not trying to put down Native Americans. So there's always been a long and storied kind of discussion for that. But there definitely was, I feel like throughout Slug's whole career as I was growing up, it's been a little bit strange because he used to be lambasted for being emotional.
Yes.
Remember, like, you probably don't remember because you're 9 at the time, but there was a time where he was just being absolutely lambasted as emo rap during a time where being introspective and vulnerable was seen as soft and not the right way to do a hip hop. You don't do a hip hop like this. You do a hip hop like that. It's a certain hat. It's a certain hand movement, and your dick has got to be hard all the time. Like, you know what I mean? It was like, and he was lambasted. But I really do think that Slug's work also helped pave a way for guys like Lupe Fiasco and Kid Cudi in a similar way that Kanye did, but also in a different way because it was not just it allowed like non-black kids to not have to try to be black or some shit. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to act black or put on a certain hat to do it. And to this day, I kind of still find that very endearing about Slug. As like, this music, if you listen to it, like, it doesn't have the demarcations of like, we sample funk, we sample soul, we sample blues. It's like, yo, we've got a really dope guitar riff here. We might have some like dubby things here, but I've always enjoyed the white rappers that I've enjoyed for not trying to parrot or like hit the check marks of like what it means to be a black rapper.
Sure.
'Cause he's very different to me than Apathy or something.
The way you put it as well now is like, apparently Slug isn't white, so like, my bad, it ultimately not relevant, and it shouldn't be relevant.
It does,
but I do think the way that people consume and talk about this particular, especially the stuff on Rhyme Sayers for a long time was kind of presented as an opposition. And you know, obviously underground hip hop has always existed as, you know, relative to and in opposition to the mainstream. But there was certainly a tone to it that I was very uncomfortable with, something kind of gross about, and that was not Slug and Ant's fault at all.
I mean, it also existed within like the black artist community. Like conscious rap became a pejorative, and you know, growing up at the time, I was like, "What the fuck is conscious rap?" You listen to Common's album like Water for Chocolate, which is like a wonderful book title, but he's also like, and it's like, calm down, you know, like what the fuck is conscious rap? And this music was also generated at a time before backpack became kind of like the term for Little Brother and Fonte and what you know, Mountain Brothers or whatever was doing at the time. Was like, the reason we have backpacks is because usually like a lot of us didn't have fucking cars, or a lot of us had fucking graffiti cans in there. A lot of us had our fucking tapes and shit in there. And I come up from, I was a backpack. I still rock a backpack almost all the damn time, and it's because like I had weed in there and shit. Like I'll punch you in the fucking like, you know what I mean? I mean, at times there have been guns and weapons in it, and backpack became pejorative. You know, it also became the college fandom, which I think Slug kind of gets at in this, if I recall correctly. Like the fandom of his music is kind of, especially Billy Woods talks about in his last album too, and Driver too. It's like the white college kid fandom was a little bit strange to behold and shit. Like, so should we get into the
15
album?
15 minutes into the video, let's talk about the album.
Yeah. Go ahead.
When I first heard the first track, I kind of went,
okay.
Okay. You know, there was, you know, this kind of positive angle.
I thought about you when I heard it too.
Mid-tempo, very kind of hip hop tropey. Like, you know, you've got your sample, you've got this kind of boom bappy kind of drum, and then a little rat in there as well. And I was kind of like, And then as the album went on, and Slug explores all of these very like different and complex emotional states, I was really happy to hear the OK reprise at the end.
Yeah.
I was like, I see. There's something to be said for listening to a record by a 50-year-old rapper.
Yeah.
You know, I assume that I don't know anything about Slug's personal life, but I'm assuming this guy's like a dad, and he's, you know, married, and he's, you know, he's gone through all of these different experiences.
I think he might have a kid that's like old as you.
His
bro.
kid's like pretty like my age.
I feel like I heard he had a kid back in the day.
And there's something, there's a level-headedness and a maturity to this record. And to be fair, I think perhaps, like if we were to compare this to like the Alaska Steel Tip Dove we talked about recently, I think there is a similar kind of maturity and understanding to them both, although this one resonated with me a lot more. I feel like, you know, maybe I didn't quite I didn't quite get what Alaska was putting out. Listening to a lot of this, there was kind of like, I think what I really appreciate ultimately at the core of this record is a complete lack of cynicism. This record is completely authentic to itself, and I think Slug is and you know, I want to give credit to the producer, DJ, of course, but lyrically, what Slug is talking about is immediately relatable and understandable and very, very authentic, and you know, just comes from like the place of someone who has seen it all and been everywhere and understands their place or has a firmer grasp.
Deeply like empathic too.
It's empathic.
To me, you know, Slug is a keen observer of the human condition.
Yes.
And his ability to stack like kind of the American everyman, modern man perspective in insightful and even philosophical ways is just, he's really good at it.
Yes.
He's really good at it. And it's better than anything Jordan Peterson has ever fucking said in his whole life. Like
what?
And it doesn't come across as preachy. It comes across as kind of like, I know how it is sometimes. It kind of it's I gotta say, I do find it very endearing. His writing seems to like again, I haven't listened to a lot of albums of theirs too closely, but his writing appears to have gotten a little bit more refined and a little tighter. The way that he's able to like mix metaphors,
Yes.
in a way, it's like kind of tremendous. And I'm not saying that there are like a lot of these mixed metaphors, but some of the things he say are just like so poignant and so kind of brilliant that you would think he was taking from something that's commonplace, like a common idiom, but
He
it's
was saying
him.
like an adage, but it's his. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's like, he's a bit of a bodhisattva in that way. It's like kind of like, wow, bro, like you got like a snap of nirvana and came back to tell us about it in an interesting way. And I really do think that all of these tracks he comes across like very, like he's not cynical at all.
No.
It also is not preachy. Like the reason that when I heard okay, I was like, oh man, Jet's gonna hate this because I'm already like, don't tell me what to do, bro. Like I'm not trying to be. I don't need to be happy. Yeah, you're not my dad. But like for a lot of it, I was just like, yo, man, I fucking feel that. Like, in the production on this, I think, man, the production across the boards is kind of it is a testament to how good Ant's ear is when it comes to like a lot of your conventional boom bap sampler beats are kind of like, ugh, okay, it's just a beat, but there's like musicality here. The guitars are
these
really great.
are songs as well. Like
Yeah.
rather than just being like beat with a verse on it, maybe a hook. Like these are very song-like. There's a lot of verse, bridge, chorus going on with a lot of these, for better and for worse. Because there are definitely some tracks, Talk off that album with the little vocoder.
Oh yeah,
Talk to me.
it's really funky with that's got a person named Batflower on it.
Yeah.
The
Didn't
keys
care
are
for
really
it.
funky. Yeah,
Didn't care
that
for
wasn't,
it. It
that
was
wasn't my
like
favorites either.
the drum part kind of plods along a little bit. I was kind of like, okay, like yeah, I get it. And there's certainly some moments on the album where I don't want to say I roll my eyes necessarily, but the lyrics do sometimes like go from like, oh man, that's fucking deep, or that's fucking dope, and then like the next bar is just like, yeah, like, have you ever looked high in the sky and wondered why?
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
all right, man,
Yeah,
cool.
To go back to the production, like it also, the transitions in the sequencing of the album
Immaculate.
is kind of incredible. There's a lot of moments on it you don't know if the song ended, if it's coming, if it's going, if it's an intro, interlude, if it's an outro, and it packs so much emotion. Like, Ant's able to pack so much emotion into the sound that it really does complement what Slug is doing with the writing at times.
Well, maybe at the very core of this album, above all else, is refinement. You know,
that's my big walk away from the music.
This is like distilled early 2000s underground hip hop.
Yeah.
Like down to like its purest form.
Yeah.
When people
artisanal
yeah,
artisanal rap,
craft rap.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
when people talk about backpacker rap as like a pejorative, this is kind of what I think of, like sonically. And the only thing is, I don't really take it as a negative. I'm also not American, so that probably helps. But there is, ultimately this is where Bus Driver rejects convention and sees hip hop as something broader than genre. And not to say that Slug and Ant don't see hip hop as something broader, because I do think they have helped build that house.
Absolutely.
But this is purist in a lot of ways. This is traditional. This is something, and I don't mean that, even though I love weird music and I love experimental music, it was kind of refreshing to listen to this, especially relative to a lot of the stuff we talk to. This couldn't be further away from the King Vision Ultra.
Yeah.
This couldn't be further away from the JPEG Mafia and Danny Brown.
Or that Bus Driver.
Or the
album.
Bus Driver.
It is. It excels at, like, this is the thing that I was thinking too. It's like the refinement that they've undergone over the last. I mean, there's even parts of this album that hark back to like Lucy Ford, which is one of the first albums. Like, they got the really dubby joint, and on this it has that too. But there's just something. There's something. It's very powerfully refined. It sounds super clean. It sounds as professional as you can get an album to sound. The lyrics are right. The beats are right. The the complexity of the writing is right. Like I've got lines that are just, really good fucking rap lines, and I do think that it's not that they're not trying to push that they're only refining. They're taking some chances and shit here too.
There's risks on this album.
There's like the 1 minute tracks that are like short, and it's like Slug's voice is a little bit muffled, and it's something that I feel like Spade would be like, why did you do that? Like, why is that aesthetic choice? But it adds to it. It doesn't. While it sounds like unmistakably boom bapish, like 90s era type of hip hop, it also sounds fresh and brand new in a way that when I listen to like Marlon Craft, for example, like what he does, I'm just like, okay, I see what you're doing. You're not trying to reinvent the wheel. You're just trying to catch kids that don't know about that wheel. With Atmosphere, I'm like, wow, like this is really good.
Like, this is a nice wheel.
This is fucking amazing. Like you look at it, it's like, yo, you got the grain, the wood grains to match up on the spokes. Like, yeah, it is. While I loved quite a few songs on it, this isn't necessarily a wheelhouse that I come to too often.
No, neither.
I don't.
This won't be on my end of the year list either. But
I gravitate more towards the experimental, the odd, the progressive, the avant-garde, and a lot of other things. Not to say I can't appreciate like an Open Mike Eagle album or some shit like that, but like, yeah, this shit is fucking actually really tremendous, and not in any groundbreaking way. It's just like, bro, when I listen to it, I kind of feel like this is like a soundtrack to life type of music for me. Like if you were to like look at me, wake up in the morning and make a cup of coffee, it's like this is how the cool California movie starts for me. You know what I mean? Like like a lot of these songs are like, word, man, this is fucking great.
It's a cool California movie album.
Yeah.
Certainly.
While not being Saw Rock is on this shit too.
Saw Rock's on it.
I want to make that clear. Saw Rock has got her own verse on this. Like it's just her own song, After Tears, and we need more Saw Rock. Saw Rock on Rhyme Sayers. Shout out to Rhyme Sayers. Yeah, man. There's a lot. I've got lyrics and let's hit a couple of the tracks. Did you like Dotted Lines?
Dotted Lines. September Fool's Day. I really liked.
Hold on. Let me. I think this is the bridge.
I don't know if you want to put some balls in.
Nah, but like this is just kind of like a really simple rhyme scheme that to me kind of like has a lot of like I was like word. Dotted lines, right? The bridge. I never stepped in line to be next in line. Don't let the operator come and disconnect your line. Keep it rolling even if you forget your lines. I love it when we color outside the lines. Open up your hands, reach across the dotted line. And I'm not doing any justice to that delivery and the coupling with the beat or whatever.
Of course, yeah.
But he's like, it's extremely simple, but it's also very poignant and kind of just like, It takes a certain type of nerve to make a person fight the urge. But when I'm dead, I'll still work to fertilize your dirt.
This is not a pop album by any means, but this album does do a lot of what the best crafted pop does.
Yeah.
Wherein which it's like, okay, you have considered this relative to the statement of the piece of music. So, the line is the theme on Dotted Lines. Yeah. How do we cross those lines in a meaningful way? And that's something that I think is done really, really well on this record. Any other specific tracks on it?
Well, I really like Crop Circles. When I heard like Dotted Line, I was like, wow, I got to rewind this and see like those are like really dope lyrics. But Crop Circles is a kind of very strange. It's kind of a very strange beat considering the other tracks on the album. And to me, it was just like it almost sounds like they're pushing towards a like drumless, you know what I mean? Like this could be like an Earl Sweatshirt beat.
Yeah.
But it's also a bit different. It's just like
it's a little more melodic. Yeah. It's a bit more compositional rather than if it was Earl, like it would probably just be this sample.
But then, Ant puts a little bit of
little piano chords there, which are quite pretty.
Yeah, it's really dope. And then Slug has like a, like maybe 4 to 6 bars on it. And they do some. How many times can you beat those eggs before you teach yourself not to feed the snakes? Yeah. Everybody trying to sneak. There's a couple on this that are just really not what I've heard from before. Like Watercolors even is like. Well, I guess actually this one is pretty, but it's good. It's fucking good.
Yeah. What tracks did you not like on here? 'Cause there's a lot of tracks on here.
I definitely didn't like the talk joint.
Talk. Yeah. Yo, hold tight, Merkage Dave from London, like big up South London,
Still
East
like
London
it, that
represent. But
one's dope too.
I didn't care for that track, especially not Merkage Dave's part on there. I thought like Slug was great on there. I like the verses on there. The feature, like it was a little too chorusy. Like,
I didn't like Thanxiety.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind hearing that on a system, but it sounded a little bit like out of place and kind of Halloween-esque to me in the context of the rest of the album. I didn't care for that too much. I also didn't care for Sterling.
Yeah.
I did not like Sterling at almost at all. That's when I was like, oh man, am I gonna have to shit on a Slug album? Because I don't want to do that. But
Right.
I'm honest enough that I would have to do it if we were to review it. But no, I just didn't really like that. Talk especially was one that I was just like, yeah. At first I thought Batflower must be the person on the keys because it's kind of like funky synthy, and then they start singing, and I was just like, this one's not for me. This one's not for me. Hold My Breath was also not for me either. It's very dubby.
Yeah.
This. It kind of reminds me of Free or Dead off of Lucy Ford, which is also very dubby, but he has some dope lines on it. I just kind of just don't care for the sound. It's
I
a personal
appreciate
thing.
like normally when you hear a track that sounds like this on a hip hop track, especially in this kind of genre, it's just like a marijuana track.
Oh yeah.
And I appreciate the restraint it took to just not even touch that here.
Yeah. He's got dope, like Slug is really nice on this, trying to keep the battleship immaculate. Nothing changes but the magic trick. He's dope. I walked away from this album with a renewed appreciation of atmosphere and kind of a smile on my face, thinking just like they're like the Aerosmith, you know what I mean? Like that their crew has just been together and you know, like they stuck through and they continue just
it's an
peeling out,
institution,
you know? Yeah, man. I love to see Slug and Ant and Atmosphere and Rhymesayers succeed. I think that they're tremendously important in the canon of music and what they've been able to achieve with the art and also the kind of commerce aspects of it and maintain their integrity. Don't hate on Atmosphere in front of me. And if you're like, yo, I like Atmosphere, he rhymes really good. I've heard that like a million times. But yeah, shout out to you for trying. We love you for trying.
Secret House.
Yeah, man. Fucking. I would recommend this album to people that like Marlon Craft.
Yeah. For sure.
I would recommend this album to people like Marlon Craft.
Yeah.
We don't need Marlon Craft.
I would recommend this to my friend the other day. Like I mentioned that I do a rap review show in passing, or like a rap discussion show, and he was like, oh, like 90s stuff. And I know he was trying to like connect with me, and he likes Tupac.
Yeah.
But you know what? Listen to this.
Yeah.
Listen to this. It's good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a adult contemporary boom bap. This is for the grown folks.
It's a grown record.
Yeah. This is for the grown folks. It's still like fucking, you know, a sample loop and some wisdom in the bars. Peace, man. Secret House Against another long ass video. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Patreon link in the description.
Cheers.
Crazy to just lay here. It's like he's fucking around with the whole damn song the whole way through.
Word.
And then when he gets to the last part, like, bitch, I figured it out.
Yeah.
Because that shit goes crazy in the head.
Also, that Redville verse is fucking incredible.
The Red Devil verse is hard.
That Redville shit is dope.